a little gap has opened up in the schedule today, so we're doing something a little bit different. We're calling it Ange Postecoglou's Greatest Hits, the Updated List. Now, we did a video, an original one, just under a year ago, where we took a look at the funniest things that Ange has said in press conferences. And today, we have basically the 2022 updated rankings, as the title would suggest, which is kind of going to be a mixture of, I think, a couple from last year's video, the ones that I forgot to mention that I took a note of, and the other stuff that Ange has said over the past 12 months. And he has been very busy over the last year, as well as building a winning machine on the pitch. He has been coming away with corkers in the media, and we're going to do our best to bring you as many of them as I can possibly remember over the next 10-15 minutes or so. I should say at this point that we did do a kind of serious, meaningful, impactful Ange quotes video probably about 6 months or so ago. I'll link that above one of those sides so you can check that out. This is for the funny ones, the ones who enjoy a laugh. So yeah, laugh with me. Right, let's start by reminding ourselves of last year's winner. Oh, that's right, I didn't do a winner last year because it was an unordered list. Well, we're going to put that right this year and do a 10 to 1. We may even put some honourable mentions in at some stage. Right, let's start. And this is from a press conference that I was actually at. It was against Ross County. We'd just beaten Ross County. I want to say 4-0 to move 6 points clear at the top of the Premiership going into the final few matches of the season, just prior to the split coming in. And he was asked by a member of the media if he would be watching the Rangers game the following day. And Ange gave a typically Ange answer. He said, "My Sundays are dictated by my wife and kids. If Sing 2 is on, I'll have to fight for the remote control." A comical affair featuring a controversial, and let's not beat around the bush, made up cast of people just trying to get back to the top and displace their rivals. But anyway, I hear Sing 2 is a good laugh. Now, we know that Ange Postecoglou enjoys a drink. We actually have nothing to suggest that Ange Postecoglou enjoys a drink. We just know that he gets a lot of drink. We know that Glens, who I would never criticise, give him a bottle every single month, actually, when he wins his Manager of the Month award. We also know that the Celtic support have had a part to play in terms of Ange's booze haul as well. I made the mistake of declaring my love of Scotch whisky, and now, seriously, I get about a case a day delivered to my place. I don't think I'll ever drink it. More of a Mad Dog fan, clearly. Right, okay, remember that time when the Scottish media lost the plot? I'll need to be more specific. Remember that time about 14 months ago when Ange came to Celtic and they kind of lost the plot with their questions to him, like stuff like, have you ever heard of Heart of Midlothian, for example? I'm still on the same planet, mate. I haven't come from outer space. You'd be surprised about how much I know about Hearts. They've got a strong Aussie connection. Ryan McGowan, Paddy Kisnorbo. I can go back that far, so I know Hearts very, very well. We know that Ange is a big fan of roller coasters. He references them all the time when we're talking about the journey. The journey is a roller coaster, mate, he regularly says to people working under him. And if Ange was to go to, say, Alton Towers, for example, and have a go on one of the roller coasters there, he probably wouldn't have too many of his Celtic players with him, mainly because they probably wouldn't get on. When we signed Oliver Abildgaard, a couple of weeks ago, Ange was keen to point that out, saying, "It's no secret, he adds a bit of size to our team. Most of our side will struggle to get on any rides at Disneyland." Many of Ange's most explosive media comments, be it funny, just be it kind of putting a journal in this place, have come on BBC Radio Scotland. Now, I don't know if that's a slight on the interviewers on said radio station or whether Ange just feels more comfortable when he can't be seen, but it seems to me like it's certainly the case. He's had so many kind of run-ins, if you want to use that phrase, with people on BBC Radio Scotland, like when Celtic were on the verge of winning the title. We just battered Hearts 4-1 at Celtic Park. It was a matter of when and not if Celtic won the league. And he was asked by a BBC reporter whether he had a preference for winning the title, whether he'd rather Rangers drop points the following day and Celtic won it without playing, whether he'd rather Celtic won it away from home, or whether he'd rather Celtic won it at Celtic Park. And he didn't really care, to be honest. He said, "Only you could make winning a championship feel like a downer. No, mate. Any way it comes, thank you." Okay, we know that Tom Rogic is going to be playing for West Brom this season. He's signed for them. The chat about his future can all be ended, all that stuff about him retiring and that. But ever since he left Celtic in mid-May, there was a lot of discussion about what was going on with Tom Rogic. Why hadn't he found another club? You know, what was going on in his personal life? And Ange was actually asked about it at one stage, and he gave a typical Ange answer, as always. He said, "I think Tom's fine. Has anyone spoken to Tom? No one spoke to Tom when he was here for 10 years either. That's Tom. I'd be more concerned if he was out there talking to people. Leave him alone. He's fine. He'll get his next move done, and I'm sure he's in a great place." As usual, Ange was proven totally correct, and Rogic found his next club. Okay, we are coming back for you, BBC Radio Scotland. This time we have a definitive name, Kenny Mcintyre. It might have been him with the previous one. It's definitely him with this one. After a 2-0 victory over St Mirren in early March, you know, a relatively comfortable victory. I think it was still goalless at half-time, but didn't generally feel in doubt at any stage in that match. Kenny Mcintyre said to Ange, "That was a hard watch at times. Is that fair?" Ange, "It depends what you're looking for. Maybe you're disappointed with the way it went, mate." And I have indeed heard rumours that Kenny Mcintyre was very disappointed that evening, just like he was on Wednesday, and the Wednesday before that, and the Saturday before that as well. Number 3, and remember the good old Sydney Super Cup, which is actually coming up in like a matter of months, like 2 months, 2 and a bit months. I think it's mid to late November, so it really is coming up. Of course, the tournament isn't going to be the same. We just need to come to terms with that. We've lost the warm-up act, Rangers, but Ange does have a solution for the pretty unavoidable drop in ticket sales. He said, "Whatever ticket sales we lose out on, I'm sure my friends and family will pick up, mate, so we'll be all right." When Celtic qualified for the Champions League group stage, there was a fair bit of chat, rather surprisingly to me, about how Ange would set his team up to play against Europe's best. I think any supporter who had kind of had any sort of interest in Celtic and Ange over the last year would know exactly how he was going to set us up. But seemingly for some factions of the media, it was still a major talking point. And as we all know, there are only 2 approaches for Celtic in Europe. 1, all-out attack, Joe Hart up top, minute 1, or 2, park the bus. And it seems like Ange is not a huge fan of the giant road vehicle that carries significantly more passengers than an average car or van. Thank you, Wikipedia. He said, "I've never owned a bus, mate." Well, that's that then. On a similar note, he also had the perhaps even better quote saying, "If you are a confirmed vegetarian, you don't drop into Macca's just because you're hungry, mate." Hate to burst your bubble, Ange, but McDonald's are actually doing a fair bit of veggie stuff at the moment. Yeah, so I'm told. Okay, honourable mentions. Ange, after a 2-0 win over Ferencvaros, it took place at the same time as Countdown, if Countdown is still a thing. It was certainly a conundrum for the Celtic support that day, whether to turn up or to go to work, school, etc. for the 3:30 kickoff. We did turn out, and Ange was very appreciative of that, saying, "I apologise to all the employers who had little productivity today as they were missing people and schools may have been empty." Ange, when asked about XG, the one that gets me is XL, because that's all my clothes. Okay, so professions that we know Ange does. We know he's a football manager, definitely, pretty good one. We know professions that he doesn't do as well. We know he's not an accountant. He's covered that. We know he's not a DJ because he didn't really know who Snoop Dogg was when Mr. Dogg wanted to come over and party with the Celtic players. Never happened, by the way. You know that display we did for, I think it was a Rangers game, the Pinocchio nose? Do that for Snoop Dogg as well, because the guy's just lying. Got us all excited and then he didn't deliver. We also know that Ange is not a doctor, saying, "I'm not a doctor, so I can't talk about medicals." That was to do with Carol Starfelt, by the way. Ange also had another good line to do with Starfelt. When the Sweden international joined the club, someone in the media said to Ange, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, "Oh, that Starfelt guy's, you know, pretty good with the ball, plays out from the back. It seems like he could be quite a good fit for the way you want to play football." And Ange said, "Yeah, that's why I signed him, mate." Okay, on to the winner now, and back by relatively popular demand is the Aussie Accent. I'm going to be giving it a go just to give you a wee bit of warning. Ange, when asked if Rangers' run to the Europa League final, where they lost, shows how well Scottish teams can do in Europe, he said, "Crikey, mate." That's just me warming up, by the way. I need to do crikey, mate, otherwise I just end up kind of going like kind of hillbilly American. "Crikey, mate, if you want evidence of how well Scottish clubs can do in Europe, there's a trophy I can show you just down the road here, mate." Wasn't he terrible? I love the down the road part of that there. Like, he's talking about down the corridor, isn't he? Let's be honest. And he's saying down the road. And also the mate at the end. It didn't need a mate at all, but it just brings it up from like an 8 to 10 out of 10. And I think most of these actually have mate in them, which is just, as I say, just improves them all. The Ange mate is just amazing, because you know half the time he's probably kind of pretty unhappy with the person asking the question, but he still throws in a mate. So yeah, that's your winner. Well done once again to the Lisbon Lions for winning this. Well done to Ange Postecoglou as well for supplying this. I'm sure in a year's time we'll have a load of new content to bring to the party with this. If I forgot any obvious ones, which I probably did, there's probably like a million really funny ones that I've not included, please let me know in the comments below so I can use them in next year's video. And yeah, we'll see you in 2023. Well, not strictly true, we'll see you tomorrow for the St Mirren preview.